This week, we're back working on my 1969 Subaru 360. This is a K car from Japan that I threw on Suzuki Samurai axles, turned into a four-wheel drive beast. It's powered by a Honda four-wheeler engine, and this week we are absolutely transforming it. Last time I took it out, the engine died. It left me stranded and I had to yank it out of the mud. So we got to get the engine running and driving again. I want to upgrade the entire electrical system, get a bunch of lights mounted on it, and get this thing ready to hit the trail for the first time. Last time we drove this thing, it kind of got stuck and then left me stranded. The engine stopped running, and I've got a feeling it might be partially to do with this fuel delivery system that's, well, let's just say unideal at the least. Today I plan on getting this thing a ton more dialed in. I've got a ton of awesome parts for it, but first we got to get it into the garage. So I got this, a temporary fuel tank. I'm gonna hook this straight up to the carb, turn it upside down, fill the carb up, and see if we can get this thing to fire up. I'm seeing sparks. Literally have no idea what I did, but I'm gonna get it into the garage before it turns itself off. I think this is clearly a carburetor issue. I have been chasing my tail for the better part of an hour and a half or 2 hours now, and I've come to the conclusion that I'm ordering a brand new carburetor. It's $35. I'm doing it. It's on Amazon. I've adjusted the air fuel screw. I've gone through and cleaned this carburetor. I've got good fuel to it. I checked the compression. We got 120 PSI of compression. We've got spark. I got a carburetor on order. It should be in tomorrow, and I'm pretty bummed this thing isn't running. But while I wait, I've got some things to install. Auxbeam hooked it up yet again, and this thing is about to light up the night. We've got headlights, we've got spotlights, we've got whips, we've got rock lights, and a switch panel that is going to be running the entire vehicle. This is going to be our starter, our ignition, everything is going to be going through here, and I can't wait to get all of this on the 360, because not only is it going to make it look a ton better, but it is going to make it perform so much better. No more sparking wires onto a battery to get it started. We're going to have a nice switch panel that's going to get everything sorted. Let's take a look at some of the things we've got, starting with these headlights. Got some 7-inch DOT approved LED headlights that look amazing. I've already got one out because, well, I had to order some entire bezels to get these things mounted because the 360 didn't have any bezels when I got it, but we should have everything to get these headlights installed, and I think they're gonna look sweet. Next, we have the V Ultra Series 5-inch pods that are gonna absolutely light up the trail. These are gonna be going on the front. The headlights should do amazing, but these will help get everything else that the headlights don't. They've got covers, an entire wiring harness, and it should be an absolute breeze to get these things installed. Here we've got a set of the Auxbeam mini rock lights. These are gonna work both as rock lights and as interior cab lights on the 360. They're RGB, you can control the color through the app, and I'm really excited about them. I got the minis so that they're hopefully a little bit easier to stash on the mini 360. And I've got 8 of these things that are going to light up the undercarriage so I know where my tires are and help us see in the cab. Here, we have 2 of Auxbeam's longest whip lights. These things are great for off-roading in the sand dunes or places you want to be visible, especially in small cars. I've got 2 of them because I've got a pretty interesting plan that I think will give the 360 a bit more character. And finally, here we have got what is going to be the center of everything. This is the Auxbeam switch panel, and it's going to run all of the electronics. This is the switch panel itself, but it goes through a solid state relay PDM power distribution module that is going to make everything so much easier. This is going to make it look so clean in the cab, as well as run everything from the engine start to all of the lights we have ordered, and we should even have a couple extra slots in case we want to add things like a winch in the future. First things first, we're going to need to figure out where we're getting all of these wires power from. Currently, the battery is set next to the driver in a very precarious position, but that's just so I could use those 2 leads coming off of the engine to start it by arcing them onto the battery. Super unideal. But when I was building this thing, I did put a battery tray in, and right here behind the driver, we've got a battery tray that I'm gonna move the battery to. We're gonna get a tie down, and that is gonna be the basis for where we're gonna mount all of our electronics. One of the things I really like about the aux beam setup is not only does it come with the solid state relay PDM, but it also comes with things like a breaker that's 60 amps that'll trip before you harm any of the wiring, as well as all the wiring needed to wire everything up to the breaker and to the PDM itself, and brackets for pretty much any use case so you can get this thing mounted in here. And I'm actually going to be mounting this very simple bracket just like this. I'm going to clean up both the ends and I'm going to weld this thing to the chassis. That'll make routing everything easy. We've got the battery right here. This will then tie all the way to our switch panel, which is going to mount up on the dash. I think that's not going nowhere. With the fuse block portion mounted, now I need to figure out how I'm going to mount this. I think I'm just going to attach it directly to the dash. And in that case, I am just going to throw a couple rib nuts in here. There we go. And I even installed the rubber cover that is the dust water cover. And I'm just going to leave that on there probably forever because, well, what needs to happen. This thing has no roof. Now that we've got this pretty little unit here mounted and this unit here mounted, ready to start hooking wires up to, the brains of this operation has been installed. I'm excited. Now we can actually start running all of our lights, running all of our wiring, and we know exactly where we're running it to. So I'm gonna start on all of our other aux beam goodies. Next thing I want to install is these headlights. I'm really excited about these. For starters, how gangster is it that they come with their own cotton gloves to install them? Of course, cotton gloves to install headlights is not quite the vibe of the 360, but it's awesome that they come with everything to install them. Unfortunately, I did have to order these bezels. So I ordered these bezels for a motorcycle headlight mounting online, and I'm gonna be using them to mount these headlights into the 360. This is how it mocks up into the headlight. So everything bolts in there and we've got adjustment. The reason I went with this entire bezel is so that we could have the adjustment. I know I don't need to have them pointed perfectly for great road manners, but I do want to be able to adjust them up and down a little bit just depending on how things are to get the best field of vision. Over here, we've got how it's going to mock up into the 360 itself. We are going to have to do some sort of trim valence to make it look a little bit better, but it's looking like what I'm going to do is actually weld this thing directly to the 360. I'm going to clean up this back bracket on all 3 of them and then just boom, weld this thing in. I have to cut one more little hole for this side to be able to adjust properly, but I think then we'll be able to just throw this thing in and it should work great. Another benefit of this is it actually moves the headlight forward, which is pretty necessary. See that cut down there? Yeah, that's a cut that's necessary for tire clearance. So the tire actually comes all the way up in here, but the way it is, I might have to trim this bezel a little bit, but I think we'll be good and actually be able to have this headlight free and clear of danger. Only one way to find out though, got a little bit of work to do. We're gonna get these things mocked up and at least tacked in place for now. Headlights give a car so much life, and it's gonna transform this thing from some kind of lifeless buggy thing to, well, something that's got a little bit more personality. I've got all of the paint cleaned off this and the paint cleaned off the bottom of these tabs, and I think we're just about ready to get these bezels tack welded in, and then we'll be able to get headlights in. The only thing I'm a little worried about is this is really thin sheet metal I'm going to, but in the long run, I do want to do some sort of visor that comes out and past just a little bit over the headlight so I don't get shine back. And I think that if I tack that to this and this all the way along here, this will essentially just be one piece of metal and I won't have any more issues. These headlights came with adapters for more modern style plugs. And what I'm gonna do is lop these off and use these as power wires for these headlights. I'm also gonna go ahead and wire both high beam and low beam to one switch because this is an off-road only vehicle and I'm not really too worried about having high beams and low beams. I just want as much light as possible. I wanna test these things. So I went ahead and already cut up this harness. I've got 2 of these plugs now that just go from the headlight plug to 3 unterminated wires. And then I'm going to see which one's high beam and which one's low beam and notate it real quick, and then I'll be able to start making a wiring harness for these headlights. High beams. Dang, that cutoff is insane. Okay, cool. We're gonna have black and blue. That'll give us full-time high beams all the time. Good headlights. I almost forgot these things have halos. I wanna check out which one does which. I've got yellow and white. I'm going to assume white is running lights. They use the same ground off of the headlight plug. So let's see. White. I'm gonna assume this is running lights. I think that was really cool, either that or the connection's weird. Let's try that again. Okay, that is actually pretty cool. I thought that last little flash was me making a weird connection, but I think we're good. And then yellow, I assume, is just gonna be a blinker. Yep, amber. I don't think I'm gonna have blinkers on this thing, so I'm probably just gonna wire this up. Running lights, amber lights, and then headlights. The running and amber are both gonna have the tail lights on, and the headlights are probably gonna be on their own switch. Headlights, amber lights, marker lights. Dang. Not only does that show our headlights are working, but our switch panel is working too, because I was controlling all of that from the aux beam switch panel. Now it's time to move to the next thing on our list, and that's getting rock lights on this thing so we can light up the trail and see where our tires are at. In order to get these rock lights mounted, unfortunately I got to use these tiny little bolts. They're like M4 bolts. And, well, it's kind of hard to get hardware for these, and everywhere I want to mount them doesn't have somewhere I can bolt all the way through and get a nut on the backside. Also, the tap and die set I already had did not have the proper sizes, so I went out and bought another tap and die set that goes all the way down to itty bitty little taps. And here, we've got an M4 by 0.7 tap. We're gonna get a drill bit that fits that, works well, and that's going to allow me to drill holes directly to the roll cage, tap, and bolt directly to the cage itself and put the rock lights in. That's gonna be a ton easier than trying to figure out how I'm gonna use through bolts with these tiny little bolts and itty bitty little nuts and washers, and it'll just allow me to thread them straight into the chassis. I've got an idea of where I want all these rock lights. I'm gonna have 2 up in here. I'm gonna have 2 on the roll cage right here pointing down into the cab on either side. It's going to illuminate the cabin area and let me see things. I'm gonna have 2 down here on either side in the center. I think that's gonna be the safest spot, pretty much right next to these brackets. It'll hopefully allow me to not smash these lights. Finally, I'm gonna put 2 back here on these bars pointing down to illuminate the rear tires and have some light back here. That should be more than adequate lighting to light this thing up on the trail. It's kind of spaghetti with wiring everywhere, but I do finally have all the rock lights mounted. It should be completely wired up. So let's see what these things look like. It's kind of spaghetti back here still, but I do have the rock lights wired into switch number 8 on our aux beam panel. Over here, this is switch number 8. Let's turn the lights off, see how this thing looks. Rock lights. Now let's put this bad boy in party mode. And I think I'm gonna leave it to where you can fairly easily unplug the one in the cab. That way it's not overwhelming while I'm driving. One of the next things we need to do is get these whips installed. And I'm really excited about this one. I think it's gonna give a ton of character to this rig. So I've got the longest whips I possibly could. The reason I did that is because the way I'm mounting these, I think this is going to accentuate the look I'm going for. And I think it's gonna be pretty dang funny. So I'm just gonna install these. I won't actually be able to put them on the rig until we get outside unless I put them like way up here. And unfortunately, that's not where they're going. They are going towards the front of the rig, which is something you don't often see with whips. But again, I think it's just gonna put it over the top for the look I'm going for, and I'm really excited. The Oxbeam whips mount with this super sweet quick connect. So all I've got to do is actually get this quick connect mounted in the right spot. I'm gonna get both of them mounted up, and then I'll just be able to click these things on. The wiring harness comes off real easy. I'll route everything, and we should just be able to remove these whips at will, which will make it really easy to, you know, pull it in the garage without breaking these things in half. Let me know in the comments down below if you can figure out what exact look I'm going for before I actually reveal it, because it's pretty funny. Let's get to work. Oh, is it gonna fit? It's not gonna fit. No! I got the mounts set up there. They're tacked in place for now, not fully welded out. I'm gonna run the wiring and make sure it's something I like before I fully weld it out, because currently with the tacks, I can move it if I need to or if I want to, but once it's fully welded, that might be a lot more difficult. Oh my goodness gracious, this is exactly what I was envisioning. It looks like a massive insect, a bug. It looks like a bug. Doesn't look like a Volkswagen bug, it looks like an actual insect, and it's hilarious. Oh my God, this is what I was going for. I wanna get the last few lights on here, I wanna get the pods on, I wanna get the taillights wired up, and get all of the wiring in the cab wrapped up and not just kind of, well, spaghetti. But I just want to make sure everything works first. And as soon as we get that wrapped up, this just came in from Amazon. It should be our carburetor. I'm hoping it helps make this thing run a little bit better. I had already ultrasonic cleanered that carburetor, gone through it, and I just couldn't figure out what was going on. It's got spark. If this doesn't solve the issue, I don't know what's going on. So in the rear, I'm just gonna go ahead and throw some Oxbeam LED bulbs in the stock housing. They actually fit surprisingly well. I was a little worried they are longer than standard bulbs. And then on the inside, we've just got 2 wires and it grounds to the cab itself. All right, I got a Ford pickup truck starter relay in here, wired up, and I think it's ready to crank the engine with no carburetor over through the Oxbeam panel, which would be really cool because I've been arcing wires straight to the battery over here. So if I could, you know, yes! Along with antennas, it's getting a second set of eyes. Up high might not be super ideal. It might glare onto the windshield a little bit. I'm gonna try and push them as far forward as possible. But honestly, I'm so excited. I know it's gonna look ridiculous, but that's kind of the point. I want this thing to be something a little kid runs up to and says, "Oh my God, Mom, look how cool it is." So wild, and I can just, it's so bright. I have party lights. I made a massive insect. What? I know the light's kind of washing things out, but what? This thing going down the road is gonna look insane. Now that we got all the Oxbeam products on this thing, it looks so much better. It brought so much life and character to this thing. And of course, a lot of that is the way I utilize them, but just having headlights and a front end on a vehicle makes it look so much more complete and gives it so much life. I've been very happy with all my Oxbeam products. Everything on this vehicle is wired through the Oxbeam switch panel. All of the lights on this vehicle are Oxbeam, and every lighting accessory is Oxbeam, and it looks amazing. So if you want to grab some DOT approved headlights, some whips, some off-road lights, some awesome switch panels or power distribution, go to oxbeam.com, use my code RDR15 for 15% off your entire order at checkout. They've been awesome to deal with, awesome to use, and they have made wiring this thing a breeze. Everything on this entire vehicle is wired through that little 8-gang switch panel, and it works flawlessly. Thank you again, Oxbeam, for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get back to the build and see if we can get this thing running right. I replaced the carburetor and it still didn't run. I messed with it. I tried to tune it. I got it to like kind of doing the same thing it was doing with the last carb. So I decided I was going to tackle the ignition system, and instead of buying one part at a time, I actually ordered a new CDI box, a new coil with wire, plug, everything. And it actually seems to work. Not only that, but I actually wired everything up to where the key turns my switch panel on. And the switch panel fires up the engine. It's still not running perfect. I'd like to tune it, but it runs. This thing actually runs now. This thing is getting really close to being actually dialed in and wired. I'm so happy about it. So since it's dark out again, I'm gonna go ahead, I'm actually gonna pull this thing out. I'm gonna try and drive it under its own power and get some actual decent night shots of this thing. I also put a temporary fuel line on here that's longer so that we got a little bit more of a fuel tank. Not ideal, but it is what it is. We're gonna go before we run out of this tiny amount of fuel. All right, so that's my ambers. So I'm red and red and red, right? Yeah. Turn the headlights on. I couldn't see anything. I don't have much gas left. That's my GoPro. I was about to run. I was on a rip. Hey, that was the best donut I have almost done. And then I almost run over my GoPro. Oh. Hey. Ooh, I think the screen's fine. The screen protector's not great. Oh yeah. We got the screen protector a little bit. Oh no. Tragedy. It still works. Do they sell just the master? I'll have to look. This one's still good. It still works. Yeah, this case took a beating. Hardcore. I know. Well, we will see how crappy this audio is. Didn't really want to stop for lights, but it looks so hilarious. It was running good for the first time ever, and I break things. I don't know how well this comes across on camera, but it looks freaking ridiculous, and I love it. So much. The LEDs are bright, so it's kind of, I can tell it's overpowering the camera, but I'm so pumped. I'm honestly so excited for this thing. It looks so ridiculous. How does this thing look this ridiculous? Also, you can see me very well, and this is the ambers, nothing else. Also, this thing is running better than it's ever run now that I've replaced everything, literally from the internals of the engine to the wiring to the carburetor. Runs great now. We're in party mode, all right? With a mostly successful but slightly destructive test drive under our belt, I need to solve one more major issue before we can actually enjoy that thing, and that's this fuel system. The Gatorade jug isn't going to cut it. It works better than the previous fuel system for two reasons. One, I can see the fuel level, and two, it's not near as ugly, but it's got to change. So I started thinking how I was going to get a fuel system on this thing and how I was going to make it look good and also not take too much space up. My initial thought is I want to put a jerry can on this thing, but I don't know where I'm gonna put it. I've been fighting and fighting, trying to figure it out, and I do need to do a little bit more cage work before this is fully sorted. Right now, I just want to get something on it that makes sense, gets it down the trail so I can try and get some more miles on this thing, get it sorted out, and I want to be able to take it on trails further and further away in the near future. But in order to do that, I got to trust it, which means I've got to test it. And in order to test it, I've got to have a fuel system that makes sense. So since I want to wait on putting the jerry can on until things make more sense, and I'm honestly not even fully sold on the jerry can yet, I might end up building an aluminum fuel tank or something like that. I got to looking at what I could do for cheap or free, and what I found was I have this Honda 6.5 horsepower engine, and it's got a decently sized like half-gallon fuel tank on it that's designed to be a fuel tank. So I'm actually going to pull this thing off. It's got studs to mount it already, so I'm going to be able to just bolt it straight to something, build a little bracket, should be good to go, and then we should have a ready-to-use fuel system that'll feed the carburetor. And the best part about this is it is small enough, I can put it right above the engine, and I don't have to worry about a fuel pump or anything like that, and it'll just gravity feed straight to the carb. I think we are finally at a point where we can test drive this thing, not in the driveway, not on a dirt road, but actually take it to a trail and see how it performs out on a real trail. Now, I'm not going to go to the hardest trail in the world. I'm actually not going to go to anything that even will remotely challenge this thing because I want to build up confidence. With this new ignition setup and carburetor, it has run better than it ever has, and I've actually taken it on more successful test drives in the last 2 days than I have since I built it, which is going to make this thing a ton more enjoyable. So we're going to go ahead, take it to a local trail, mess around with it, see how it does, see how it performs, see if there's any issues I really need to address. Also, I'm not sure if you noticed, but I decided to air down a little more. People were complaining that 8 PSI was too much, so these now have 4 PSI in them. I'm gonna do that all the way around and see if maybe that helps. We're talking so little pressure now that I'm kind of worried about debeating. If it does, it does. Don't know what I'm gonna do about it. I'm gonna keep it kind of local for that as well. I wanna make sure that if we have any issues, I get them ironed out before I'm miles and miles away from help. Mini crawler is loaded. The 360's up on the trailer. And man, it always looks so tiny on the full-size trailer. It's gonna look tiny out on the trail too, but we're finally good to go. We're gonna hit the trail for the first time. And I'd like to point out that 4 PSI has got to be a low enough pressure. That's a ton of bulge. I know it's strapped down right now, but we're talking a ton of bulge. So hopefully 4 PSI is enough to suffice the keyboard warriors that keep telling me I am not running enough pressure. I would go lower, but I am genuinely in fear of debeating the tire. So we're gonna see how this thing does on a real trail-ish. Man, I really need to figure out an easier way to get in and out of this thing. It's time to take this thing on the trail. I'll drive around if you want to meet me. I felt like that one might have smashed my rocker panel. and I didn't want to do that. I guess four-wheel drive's cool. How do you get out of your rock crawler? Yeah, so drive shaft definitely in contacting link. Right now it's not fully, but that's a thing. It's definitely got some wear markers. I'm having so much fun. This thing really just goes anywhere I point it. There's nothing challenging around here. Like, the rest is pretty much just dirt road for the next, like, what, 5 miles? And I really don't want to just take this thing down 5 miles of dirt road for 2 obstacles. Not right now, anyway. Maybe in Moab, when they're new dirt roads that I haven't been down 1,000 times. I think it's running so much better now that I've gotten things sorted out. Ugh. I'd say that 4 PSI has got to be enough. My fingers, yeah. Got a full handful of fingers under the fold. And it's not debeating up front, so that's cool. Yeah, this is all good news. Tires aren't debeating. They're way deforming, which means I'm getting a ton more traction. Chloe's driving it for the first time since it's not broken down constantly. She's got to put the steering wheel on, which is, you know, now you got to fasten the steering wheel. That's right. This is our quick connect steering wheel. First button starts it. You should be in neutral. Yep, till it starts. Good. Pull that back towards you kind of hard. Katunka. Yep, now hit the gas. Oh my God. This is my first time seeing it move. I figured out how to dump the clutch. Ready? Well, I think unfortunately, in order to find trails that actually challenge this thing, we're gonna have to go further than just down the road. These are more rough roads. I'm looking for some off-road rock crawling, challenging trails. And this is more so just kind of some rough roads with a few obstacles here and there along the route. And I don't really want to put 5 miles on this thing to go hit one obstacle. Luckily, Farmington, New Mexico, aka Mini Moab, has some excellent off-roading and rock crawling, and they're having an off-road event this week. I think I'm going to try and get this thing up there, but for now, I think that's it for this thing. It runs so much better, it drives so much better, it looks so much better. So thank you for watching, thank you for subscribing, and I think next on the bucket list is Mini Moab, and maybe eventually, when it's not 1,000,000 degrees out, Big Moab.